Hello and welcome to our very first of GLMPI Power Talks. This is a 5 episode series where we will be diving into and exploring the Black community and all things that are empowering to us, specifically around the U.S. Census 2020 and justice involved parents. I want to thank you for tuning in. And before we go any further, I'm going to invite you now to please share this page, share this video with anyone who you think could benefit, whether that be a father who is justice involved, whether he is a returning citizen, returning from being incarcerated, whether he is facing incarceration in court cases, whether it is a mother who has a child by a father who is incarcerated or facing the justice system, a child, a young person, everybody, a policymaker, everybody, this conversation is for us. So I'm going to invite you now again to please share this out. Invite as many people as you know to join us today as we kick off this 5-part series, which ends on Friday, July 10th. Our guest tonight, our first guest tonight, is extraordinary, and I think is the perfect person to actually start this conversation. First of all, let me tell you how it came to be that Girls Like Me is hosting this kind of conversation. You may say that Girls Like Me, we work with young girls. Why are we talking about incarcerated fathers, or why are we talking about the injustice, the justice system and justice involved fathers? Well, our girls are the daughters of fathers who are justice involved. Our girls are the daughters and the granddaughters and the nieces and the sisters of Black men who are disproportionately faced with the justice system. And so that is why we have partnered with activists to bring this conversation to you. And I am excited to have as my very first guest a dear friend, an almost family friend who I know through my husband, grew up in the same community as my husband, and has such a powerful testimony and a powerful lesson for us. And so I am going to bring on with us Daryl Cook. He is a nationally recognized speaker, author, and the founder of Minds Over Nines. That program focuses on decreasing gun violence and ending mass incarceration and the school to prison pipeline system by assisting participants in correcting errors in their thinking. So he's shifting the minds of young Black men and women who need to be redirected and re-guided as they think about how to do conflict resolution and those sorts of things. Mr. Cook is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, and he obtained his BSW in May of 2014, and he received his Master's of Social Work in May of 2018. He is a certified in civic reflection, peace circle training, and restorative justice. Mr. Cook has been in the social service field for over 7 years, specializing in cognitive behavior therapy and social emotional learning. He also has assessed and worked with hundreds of participants who are coping with mental health, trauma, and other abilities. He was a presenter at the Council of Social Work Education on Inclusion versus Exclusion in Dallas in 2014, and the Behind the Bars Forum at Columbia University in New York in 2015. He also worked in the Cook County Circuit Court ARI program from 2013 to 2018, and most recently, Mr. Daryl Cook was the host for Eric Thomas's ET 1% Club in Chicago in April of 2019. Doing amazing work, and even going back into prisons to mentor and guide and talk with those who are still incarcerated. So we want to bring on Mr. Daryl Cook. Peace, bro. How are you?
Yo, peace, Queen. I'm blessed and highly favored today, and I'm blessed to be here. Yo, sis, before we go any further, yo, I appreciate you and I honor you for the work you do. I just heard that resume you just read for me, right? Mm-hmm. But like you said, I'm family. I know you. I know the type of work that you're doing out here. We have sat and have multiple conversations about this topic, right here off the record. And
Yes.
so we're long overdue to have this conversation in front of the community. So I just want to take my hat off, tip you, the Girls Like Me Project. You all are phenomenal. You are phenomenal, and we love you, Queen.
Salute, salute, salute. I'm just honored to, I'm honored to never forget, honestly. You know,
So,
I am a child of a black man, a daughter of a black man, a niece to a black man. Um, all who have in some sort of way either been incarcerated or unfairly targeted by the police or had some kind of unfortunate, and a husband, a black husband,
right.
who has been on the other side of the justice system. And I know what it does to our families. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is exactly that sort of thing. What does that mean? Like, what is the impact that the justice system has on our families? So first, people heard your resume, and resumes are powerful because they let people know you got them receipts, right?
Right, all the time. All the time.
You got that you can back up you can back up that practical lived experience with some theory as well. And so I want you to just talk to people about your practical, the everyday lived experience that even got you involved with the justice system.
Yeah, no doubt, sister. So, first and foremost, again, thank you for this important conversation. And, as you know, I do this speaking like all across the nation, speaking against gun violence, speaking upon everything that can help our community, all the positive things that we have. Teaching young men, young women how to find themselves. Like we always tell them, like, be yourselves. But that's a skill set to be able to discover, like, who you are.
That's right.
Right. So I'm gonna need some instructions with that as well, too. Right. But for me, and you mentioned the social work, and I love hearing the attributes, but every time I'm hearing them, like masters in social work, civic reflection, I'm always reminded of where I came from to go get that. Right. There's always a backstory to that. A lot of people like put the accolades up there, but we don't keep it real with our people enough and show them some of the pitfalls, some of the hurdles I had to jump over, And so social work, we like to say that social workers are wounded healers. So I got here from some type of pain.
Yeah.
And sus, and I'm telling you, this conversation is so important. It's not just for people listening, this for me as well, because sometimes I still feel trapped, closed in because of the trauma of being 7 years old, watching TV with my cousin, and then seeing breaking news update on the TV that my mother is being arrested for trying to rob the store on 95th and Jeffrey with two other men. One of the men that was with my mom got shot. The other man got away. My mom got caught. My mom was arrested. She got locked up and went to Cook County in the 70s. I was 79, 78, 79. We immediately had to move from our home, from Emerald back to our grandma's house on 95th and Jeffrey. And I remember just really feeling displaced. I'm like, whoa, something's going on. Like, why are we at our grandparents' house right now? And why did my mom come home last night? And then weeks would pass. Me and my sister asking questions like, Grandma, when mama come home? When mama gonna come home? She's like, she'll be here. We just gonna keep our faith. Your mother gonna be here. Simultaneously, I'm seeing pictures of my father jump in, like he's still alive, but his presence in my life is checkered, just like the rest of the men or women who's probably watching and viewing this episode right now. And I thought about him because I needed him in that moment. I was like, I need somebody who can help me make sense of what's going on right now. All my friends got their mom, and they at home with them. I wasn't tripping over dad not being there because guess what? None of my friends had their dad at home. So that looked like the norm to me. But what I didn't have was a mother, for when that ice cream truck came down the street, and everybody ran in the house and said, yo, Mom, can I get 50 cents? Can I get $1 to get some ice cream? I didn't have that. I wasn't able to come home and lay like on my mom's leg and be like, yo, Mom, can I have hamburgers and French fries? Can I have pizza for dinner? Like, I didn't have that. So in a lot of ways, it left me out there on my own. And I remember that happening, and my grandfather setting me and my sister on both of his knees. I remember us waiting for that court date to take place. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I remember he came home, he set us down, and sister, that was the first time that I ever heard my grandfather or saw my grandfather cry. And he broke down the tears. He put his hand over his face, and he said that your mom's not coming home for a very long time. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what's a long time? And he said that your mom had got sentenced to 60 years in prison. And I remember doing that math inside my head. Again, I was like 6 or 7 years old. And I was like, yo, this means that I probably won't be home. My mom probably won't be home until I turn 67 years old. And I remember my sister started crying. And I remember I just had this attitude come over me like, yo, you know what? I got to go out here and make it happen. I got to go make it happen. I can't depend on nobody. What this experience has taught me right now that life isn't fair. I'm hurting. I'm in pain. My mother is locked up. My father not here. My grandmama on her second generation of children right now. She working for Gladys's and Michael Reese Hospital. My granddaddy at home trying to provide meals for us. And we got 6 or 7 of the grandchildren there, and some of my aunties and uncles, they still coming through. This was like the pit stop. So I made up my mind. I got to go out here and make something happen. So at the age of 10, I'm already in the street, connected to the street, tied into the mobs. And even in the way I chose what gang I was in, showed what type of trauma I had, you know? Because as you stated, like me and Barry, shout out to DJ B-Side, your husband, we like grew up on 95th and Jeffrey, and everybody knows Jeffrey Manor. You know, and I was so hurt, I was so traumatized as a youngster that, you know, I didn't even want to accept that love. I was mad. I was mad at the world because I felt as though they dealt me a bad hand. And so I wanted to just be involved. I wanted to fight. I wanted to go against. And so I just found the first game that I seen that went against what was going on in the community because I had pain. And that's what pushed me over to being connected with Almighty Black Peace Dog. And so that kind of like built me at 10, 11, 12. Now I'm out here, I'm false flagging from 10 to 14. I'm false flagging. I don't know no literature, you know what I'm saying? I don't know nothing. I just found me a family that I'm connecting with, and I feel whole. I don't have a mother at home, Lakeisha. My dad is trying to get it for whatever reason it's not there. I just saw my sisters cry, you know, while my granddaddy was holding us, and our young sister Shima, my mom just had her before she got locked up. And I can tell you, that was the hardest day of my life to see my grandfather cry and them calculate those numbers and say that my mom got 60 years and she'll have to serve 30. I remember this going to see my mom at the White Correctional Center and them taking us through the shakedown like we was criminals. Strip, break down, spread. And I remember thinking like it's a 7, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, like I just want to see my mama. Like, can y'all please take me in to go see my mama? And I thought, if they making me do this, what are they taking my mom through?
Wow. Yeah.
And so you can see your mom coming. For those that have been on the visit before, like you can see your mom and your dad coming, right? And you're taking me back now, Keisha. So, you know, we can see our mom come through that glass, and me and my sister, we'll run to the glass. And we'll have our hands on the glass like, mama, mama, mama. And she'd be like, hey, I love y'all. Ooh, I love y'all. She'd like, mama, you be right in there. I got to go inside this room. And every time she went inside that room, I'm like, they doing to my mama what they just did to me. Right? And then my mama come from that other door, and it didn't matter. She erased all that. And she'd be like, my babies, and she'd come hug us. And we'll just spend that time together, that 2 or 3 hours. My mother was more significant in my life for me than my friends who had their mother at home. And so I told myself, like in that position, my mom said, the hardest thing for me to do is watch the news at night. Because of the mistakes I made in my life, I know I left a son out there in one of the roughest cities in this nation without a parent, right? And that was always my mom's worst nightmare. And so what I didn't know is that I'm like, Mom, I'm good. Don't worry about nothing. But what I didn't know, Keisha, is that like, yo, I never seen what love looked like before. Like I know my dad loved my mama, but I've never seen my dad love my mom. I've never seen any man love my mom the way I love my mom. So when I went outside and we hanging around the new buildings around 95th or I'm in the manor, I'm learning how to communicate with my women through what the guys in the community teach me, what I see, what are the women accepting. Okay, if you talk tough, you cool. You pull up in a 4x4 Jimmy Blazer with a rag top on it and 50 spokes, you was popping. You know what I'm saying, right? You can get away with a few more things, right? So I'm like, okay, I need to get my money up. You know what I'm saying, right? And so I started thinking to myself, like, right here, right now, I'm gonna start standing on it. So you get introduced to guns. You just ask people that's older than you. You know what I'm saying? Hey, bro, you know where I can grab a little piece? What you looking for, little brother? I don't know at the time. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I want a 380, a 9, a 38, a 22. You tell me, what do I need? You know what I'm saying? And you usually go for the one that's most affordable. So most guys grab the little 380s, 38s, 9s, because you can get them just like you. I can get that easier than I can go to the currency exchange or to the bank and get credit. It's easily acceptable. I can go get that. Like right now, I can go get that. That's a hot commodity. And so in the street, you got this thing that why you learn it from the street. So the community teach you, I would rather the police catch me with this gun than my enemies catch me without it.
Whoa.
You just gonna have to catch me with it. Because if they catch me without it, they gonna kill me off back. You know what I'm saying? And now you are too. And it had always been there. So now I got two enemies. And so when I was talking to my girlfriend and she walked away, I didn't know that me grabbing her arm was me preventing her from walking away. And I didn't have the authority to do that. And in most situations, when people break up, it's usually because one person found out in a relationship that you can't control the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that out on the streets of Chicago because I was ill trained. I was not properly trained. I never seen the respect that I had to show to a woman. And because of that, I didn't know how to deal with it when she decided that she wanted better for her life and she moved on. And I cannot accept that. I was old enough for the sexual act, but I wasn't mature enough for the emotional conviction that needs to go, that follows behind that act, So I was hurt. And so the only way I felt as though I could get my voice heard is if I rolled up on that spot with my 9 and let my man and her know that I'm not playing. And I can tell you that that was the weakest, that was the worstest, that was the most humiliatingest day of my life. This little. Because I rolled back up there and everything inside of me, that little voice is like, what are you doing? And I didn't know what I was doing, Keisha. I didn't. I just know that for my whole life, I've been dealt an unfair hand. I feel pain. I feel trauma. You say I'm in Chirac. I feel like I'm in the war zone. And the only person that loved me just left me. And I went up there and I could see her and I could see her with a guy. I could see some other guys. I didn't know what to do, sister. And I pulled out my gun and I shot. And I thank the Creator that I didn't kill nobody. And I'm speaking on this the way I'm speaking on it now because I know what's killing us inside our community. We need a man that has made this mistake before and is willing to stand up and say that it's time for us as men to rethink our thought process when it comes to who our woman is to us. You are not my...
Can you? Sorry to interrupt you. But can you? How old you were at that time?
Yeah, how old? I was 24 years old. Yeah, so I was 24 years old. So still between that age, I could still get into Job Corps at that time. My brain was still impressionable. I was still able to, pick and choose like which direction I wanted to go in life. I was a switchman for Norfolk Southern Railroad. I was already a veteran of the Marine Corps, but I didn't have this part of my life down pat.
Had you used your gun before?
Never. I've never shot, just in the military and around the house playing. We didn't went to the alley or something. We shooting that stuff, but nah, I never pulled it out, even with these confrontations on the streets. I never did that because I always had somewhat of a conscious level to where I knew that if I killed this black man, that was like killing me. I always...
You ain't no killer, but don't push.
Don't push me, right?
You ain't no killer, right?
And that's exactly what it was. So you need that type of mentality to survive in the street. But what young men don't know is that there's no off button for that. Just like in
Mm.
the military, right? Like they train me on how to be a killer. Like low key, like I can break down uh M16 rifle in 1 minute and put it back together in two, all the way down to the firing pin. So it's 8 pounds. They made us a killer, but they don't teach you how to turn that switch off, right? So I returned back to the community with the way I was already in poverty,
Mm.
with a skill set that I don't know how to use in my community. I don't know how to properly use this skill set. And so I shot a gun, not at an enemy, at someone who's a loved one. This is
Mm.
the mother of my son. So today we're talking about how damaging prison can be to a family. And on top of that, I want us to think about how traumatizing it is when a person is locked up for hurting family. What
Mm.
are the ramifications of that? And I can tell you that it has a ripple effect. So the hardest part about going to prison is not doing the time. The hardest part is reconnecting to your children after you have missed the most impressionable years of their life. Psychology teaches us that a child is who they are by the age of 5.
Mhm.
So we know if I miss that, if I miss one, he is who he is now. And it's hard for me and my son because don't forget, and I'm talking about this now only because I've had the opportunity to talk to my son. There's a
Mhm.
point that I never used to talk about this because I know we need to get right.
That's right.
That I almost put my son in a situation where he lost both of his parents
Mm.
for life. And there's nothing that I can do to show how deep my remorse is for that. And so I said, what is my duty and my obligation, not just to me, but to my son, my daughter, to my community? I have to be a voice that goes out here to come up with a gun violence prevention program to help a child navigate through the things that I felt as though would have assisted me when I was in that situation. And so this is the reason why I came with the Minds Over Nines gun violence prevention program system. And this is why I'm so elated that you have given me a platform to talk about.
Well, like I said, I couldn't think of when I started thinking of people, you are the epitome. I see what you did to fight for your daughter and to fight to
Yeah.
maintain both your daughters, to maintain the relationship with one and to build and to be there for the other. And the story that you said about the healing with your son. We've had these conversations and I've listened to you, so I know that you put in the work seriously for yourself internally to self heal and to really make right those wounds within yourself and also make right what's happening in the community. You spoke so much of it's so I, there's never enough time for us to talk about all of the things that because everything you just talked about you have touched on at least 10 levels of trauma that you faced even before you got to prison. And so many of our young people are facing those same things. Parents incarcerated, not there, being raised by older relatives, grandparents, aunties, and sometimes neighbors, just a community, right? And then seeking love, not knowing what love looks like, not knowing what intimacy looks like, not knowing what gentle love looks like, not knowing what platonic love looks like, right? Not knowing what that selfless love looks like. And then seeing the love that who's going to wrap you up are the people that need to use you,
Come on, sir.
the people that want something from you, and and you just need to belong, so we're going to do it. And this is why these conversations, we can't spend too much time on it today, but we definitely will later. But this is why when people are so befuddled and dismayed about what's happening in the streets right now and it's young people doing it, everything you just said explains it all. And you said that this story for you, and I'm saying story, but your life, this happened to you and your sisters and your mother and your grandparents and your cousins. This happened to your whole family in the 70s. And here we are in 2020. And so I just want us to think about that. Justice involvement does not start at the time of an arrest. What would you say what would you say would be uh, your first the when the justice system and you became acquainted?
I would say for most men in our community, it's through traffic violations and being pulled over in your community. That first initial contacts with the police is most of the time always a negative encounter, right? But as I stated, for me, my life was so unique. And my first encounter came when I was 6 years old,
Mm,
going to Cook County. And then 2 years after my mom sat there, at 8 or 9 years old, I was in the face of correctional officers who had a gate around the building that my mother lived in. And so I walked in with that trauma that they are superior. And in
mhm,
this particular situation, we're inferior. And let me watch the adults around me and see how they moving. So you have a subservient thought process ingrained in you, like initially,
mhm,
from how society is set and the images. I
mhm,
know we're gonna touch on all this, but the images they provided for us as young people, like I
mhm.
still remember that, even from the cartoons I watched.
Yeah.
And so my first in contact and first trauma came from that engagement. But the first life changing situation I had, because you're talking about from the 70s to now, and you talked about like I came in contact with the P Now institution in the 70s, and now I'm still traumatized by it in 2020.
In 2020.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm still dealing with that trauma. Same thing. I just did a conversation like this with the Lieutenant Governor, Juliana Stratton, on this topic, and the title of it was From Emmett Till to George Floyd. Right? And I think that's what you just said to me,
Mhm.
right? You said, look how long this has been going on, and it's the same thing. So when you asked the first time I was traumatized and I knew this was real and knew what my assignment was, when Emmett Till's mom had the courage to leave the casket open so I can view what they did to her son.
Whew, it's so heavy.
Yeah, it
Okay,
is.
so tell me this: as your mom is present in your life, even though she can't touch you, through walls and go home with you. She's very present. You have a relationship. You go visit often. How was that going to visit your mother? Like what was it? What did it take for your grandparents to get you and your sisters to go see your mom? Like, was it an easy thing to do, or was that part easy, or?
OMG, lady. You about to make me cry, because like, you don't know how much me and my sister had to beg people, like all the time. Can you please take us to go see our mother?
Mm,
Right? Because I remember one time, like my sister got in trouble. I forgot what she did. And she was going to get a whipping from one of my aunties. And she ran away. And she went and got on the school building. And I went up there with her. And we just sat up there because I was like, ain't nobody else going to put their hands on my sister. Right? And so we waited for our grandma to get home that day. But we used to always ask people because, certain stuff used to happen at school. Like we have a field trip to Brookfield Zoo. They'd be like, go home and have your mom sign this.
mm,
Man, come on. Like, can I have my grandmama sign? Because my mama not at home. Now you got people in class that want to laugh. Okay, I'll see you as soon as the class ends then, because you're not going to laugh at me in my position because I got pain now. So you about to get it,
mm,
right? I was just mad.
mhm,
I was just mad. And it hurt so bad. It hurt so bad, and it broke us down so bad that me and my sister just decided and made up our mind that, we was going to make sure when we got our license, we was going all the time. And so my grandma, she would tell us we would have to plan for that. I remember my mom called one week. I accepted the phone call collect. And the next week, I'm saying, my grandfather, I mean, he had to do what he had to do. I don't know if I could have did it, but he had to do what he had to do. Disconnected to collect calls. And I'm like, I wanted to curse. I'm like, why would you do that? He's like, because the bill is too high. I'm like, but I can't talk to my mama at all now. And I resented him. I resented him because you're treating us like we throwaways. And I bet if my mom was here, we wouldn't be getting these whippings like we're getting right now. And so we used to beg. We used to plan. So we like, Grandma, we going this weekend? She'd be like, 2 weeks from now. Every day. We'd beg her. But she like, I was like, Grandma, if I don't take no allowance this week, can we go this week? Like everything. It took everything, because we didn't have nothing. And that night, before going to see my mom, was like anyone we know getting ready to go to Great America. Heat. You know what I'm saying? My clothes on. I'm creased out. I'm so fresh and so clean. You know what I'm saying? I got my pants right here, my jumper. Ooh, wait till I see Mom. She gonna like this right here, right? And then I might take my jersey from high school so my mom can see like your son on the football team. And then we would get down there. I remember I came with my dog tags from the military. She was like, "Give me them." I'm like, Mom, I need my dog tags. She's like, give me them. I was like, here. You know what I'm saying? And my mom got my dog tags to this day. She came home from prison with them, And so when you talk about that, that was the hardest part of my life. And I was mad at my dad too, because it was more important for him at the time to see how many women he can get and notches under his belt versus take his children to go see their mom. And I've had this conversation with him as well, which has scoped me into the man that I am now. My daughter Essence, my oldest daughter. Go ahead, sis.
Yeah, I was just gonna. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was just gonna let the people know that your healing journey is so powerful, because I know that your relationship with your mother is tight. I've seen y'all together, and even your father.
Yeah.
So your healing, I just want people to know that healing is a constant thing. It's not, and when that pain is that deep, and we don't understand what that is to be separated from your family member, especially your parent, or your child, because of a system that's so much bigger, more powerful than you are, that is no redemption, is no restoration, is just punishment, 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 and everybody is punished. That's just crushing. It crushes us. It crushes our whole family. But I just want the people to know that it's a beautiful thing to see you all together, your dad and your mom. Like that's love. So I know we talking heavy, but I do want people to know that there's some pain, but there's also joy up underneath that too.
Oh yeah, we've got a chance to do some healing. That's why I'm able to shed these tears and smile at the same time.
Yeah.
Because of that healing that's taking place. And just like you said, you remember that lip sync battle we did? And that day, my mom and dad had danced together.
I saw that.
But did you know that was my first time seeing my mom and dad in the room since I had been home from prison?
No, I did not know that.
That was my first time, because my dad lives in Milwaukee.
Oh, wow.
He came all the way back because I had that radio slot and I was doing something. I was like, Mom, come on. And that was my mom. That was my first time.
Wow.
Seeing my mom and dad in the room together. I cannot tell you. I did 10 years in prison. I've never seen them since I came home in the room. And I'm trying to think of a memory where I remember seeing my mom and dad before she got locked up prior to 6. I have never seen my mom and dad in the room together.
So we're gonna fast forward now to you, okay. And so you have a son.
Yes.
And then you have a daughter.
2 daughters.
Before we get to baby girl, you got the son and you got the daughter. Your son is the oldest, right?
No, Essence is the oldest. My daughter.
She's the oldest.
And then my son.
So what's the trajectory like here? Where are you? Where's the justice system and what you're doing in the street as you have these 2 babies? How's that impacting your life? How are you moving? So
it's quite difficult to do a lot of times, right? Because here's this, it's actually like an onion, like layers to it, right? Because it's like this thought process you have, if you can imagine being confined for any amount of time and coming up with a game plan in your head about what you want to do when you get home. I always
Mm-hmm.
thought about that day, man. When I get home, I'm grabbing my babies. I'm riding down there. I'm riding over to the south side. I'm riding out west, grab my babies, and then I want to do something positive for the community. I want to pull everybody together, then I want to take care of my family. I want to come home, get married, have a strong queen on my side, which I do, and Michelle, right? And then get home, and you realize that, oh, I may need another pair of gym shoes because I just ran all the rubber off the bottom of these trying to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy to like gather energy up, like that, and keep it moving to where everything is going good. So when you ask me how it's been the most difficult process of my life. And this is coming from a man who was incarcerated for 10 years. This part of rebuilding my family, of waiting for the moment that I feel like not only does my son accept me as his father, but he appreciates my wisdom and he forgives me for the shameful act that I made. That's a process.
Mm.
That's a process.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult process. But the easy thing to do is abandon ship and get caught up in that work outside.
Mm.
Right? I can run from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can get lost in this work that we need. We need all type of hands on deck out there. So I can get lost. I have to be mindful of myself. You know what I'm saying? That I am a wounded healer,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that hurt people do hurt people. But then when I was on that call with the lieutenant governor last week, her husband, Brian Eccles, said something that was I've never heard before. He said, I started switching that hurt people thing. And so I started saying, healed people, heal people. And when I looked at it like that, I said, you know what? Let me get back home to my family. And so you have to multitask. You have to draw boundaries in your work. And that's what I teach these guys in the program on how to go get the things that they desire in life, but at the same time, keep your marriage intact.
Mm.
Keep your children stabilized in your life to where you haven't been missing events in the name of trying to be successful. Because at the end of the day, when you obtain all those things, if you have dropped and lost family throughout the process, this won't mean nothing over here anyway. I promise you that. Because when I was locked up, I did not desire $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
I desired a hug from my mama.
Mm. That's real.
So that's extra real, sis. And the day I left, my cousin was on the other side. He got natural life. Yo, listen, I did 10 years. My cousin got natural life. My mama has 60 years. At one point, I counted up like just us 3 members in our family have given the prison system over 60 years.
Wow.
Just those 3 people. And the officer told me that day, he said, hey, you got 5 minutes. I didn't know what he was talking about, Kish. I said, yeah. I said, for what? He said, your cousin on the other side, right? I said, yeah. He said, you can go see him. Girl.
Wow.
I said, are you serious? Because you can't walk well.
Right.
You like, right. I ran over there so fast, right? I ran to his wife. I was like, KG, cuz. He was like, cuz, what's up? He was like, you leave today, right? I was like, yep. And he just walked over to the bars, and I just put my hands through him, and we just hugged each other. Like I can still feel those bar prints in my chest,
Mm.
because I knew like I'd never get a chance to like hug him in life again.
Mm.
And it's my cousin. This is my father's sister's son.
Mm.
And you hear this in my voice right now?
Mm-hmm.
This is what we all feel inside there. This is what we all feel. And we have so many men at home that's hurt right now because of male expectation and because of the pressure they put on themselves.
Mm.
Like there's no person out here that can beat me up as bad as I beat myself up.
Mm.
And that's why you got brothers like me out here that's going hard. That's why you got people like New Era Chicago or my brother Taj G and them that like, no, we about to get it. You know what I'm saying? Because I know how it feels. That's why you go hard the way you do. B-Side know what's going on out here. That's why he go hard the way he do. You know what I'm saying? And we need each other. So here's my call, like, to action. I don't know how much time we got left, but I just want to say to our men, like, look at the tears in my eyes and think about how far I have to come to be able to share the tear in front of you and be comfortable with that. Like, I'm 1,000% comfortable with this, King. When back in the days, I was 1,000% comfortable with not shedding the tear because I thought that was 100.
Yep.
And that's not 100, bro. That's not 100. I remember being at my grandma's funeral. My uncle pulled me to the side. It was like, "What you doing?" I was like, "I'm crying because grandmama passed." He was like, "I know you heard, but we got a lot of women in our family. And guess what? They need us today. So I'm gonna need you to be a big man, okay? And wipe your eyes." I remember wiping my tears away. He was like, "You ready? You a big man?" I'm like, "Yeah." And from that day, I stopped crying because the thought process was that a man wasn't supposed to cry. And while I appreciate what my uncle did for me, you know what I'm saying, because he understood that in this world, you're going to have to be tight. You're going to have to be tough. He tried to help me with that, but he didn't tell me what to do with the pain that I was still feeling from my grandmama passing. So I took that outside and I shopped. What I'm trying to say is I want to be able to help guys suppress their pain, if not remove it. And what I needed was one brother, one big homie, as they be saying, that I knew I could call 24/7, no matter what, and tell him that I needed help. I didn't have that. And so, for our men that's listening, each one teach one. For our queens that's on the line, y'all doing it. I see y'all. When we go out with New Era Chicago, a lot of times we have more women out there demonstrating than men. And for me, why I go so hard the way I do, Keisha, because when I realized who I hurt, which was a Black woman, which was a Black family, which was a Black community, and then I realized who helped me in my life, which have been Black women, which have been Black families, which have been Black communities, I'm going to die and take my last breath doing this work right here, and I'll never poison our community.
And it's obvious, like that. There's no question about it. Anybody that see you move, and groups like Minds Over Nines and activists who are sponsoring this conversation right now, dedicated to justice involved fathers. My question is, one, you talked about the barriers that stop you from being a father and a parent. I want you to go a little bit more into that. And then what is it like to reclaim the role as a protector in a community if you've caused harm to the community? So can you hit both of those? Like, just, I know you said it before, like expending your energy, making sure that you're healing and make sure you repair relationship. But what's the day-to-day like trying to be a father when you just newly returning home?
Yeah. So excellent question, sis, because I think that's the largest source of my the pressure from that situation right there. Knowing what type of father I am inside, but knowing that, hey, I missed those foundational years, right? So I have to build this relationship like the third little piggy built his house, just brick by brick. And a lot of times I be wanting to give my daughter a conversation, and you know what I was doing? I was chasing time. I'm like, I'm supposed to gave her this already. I'm supposed to give her that already. I'm supposed to give her that already. And what that made me do was not be present in the moment. Right? So I'm in essence, I'm hurting her twice. I wasn't there then, and I'm not there now because I'm trying to give her what I left on the table then. My advice would be is just to live in the moment and allow what you do today to be experience one. Okay, today we went to Walmart. We ain't talking about too much today. We talked about like the express line and how to get out of here and how to shop. Don't leave your shopping cart in the aisle. Small little things. That's experience one. Next week, we probably came over to the house and we had a barbecue. That's experience two. And then let those small experiences add up to the big explosion that you see in your head. You think it's going to be one big day to where you're going to give it to them? I love you, Dad, and we going to come in and all is forgiven. No. You got to grind one day at a time to build that relationship back with your children. As far as the community is served, as far as the community goes, I will say the same thing has to happen, but you have to do that love that you're giving to your children in public.
Mm.
Like the community has to see me. The same way they knew when I came through with sounds beating in the 80s and the 90s. Same way they, oh, that's him right there. Oh, I bet he got a QP on him. I bet he got a quarter pound on him because they know what you do. People know your business. That's how confident they should be when I come through now that, oh, no, this brother is going to be. And it's the same system. It's through consistency. Sometimes it got to be a conflict that can't be told in words, is all I'm saying. It has to be an action.
So there's a lot of brothers who are returning home and they're younger, so they don't have that wisdom like you had. They don't have those years, and I would even dare to say, even though your path wound, you wound up incarcerated, and that path was there, I would dare say there's some other fundamental foundational things that just even the streets had instilled in you that just aren't being instilled now with younger generations. Like it's some key things that they just skipping right through. They still wind up incarcerated, but the certain honor and things like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are returning home ashamed of what they've done. So when somebody starts saying how, people love to bring up your past and tell you all that you did wrong and who you think you are now, right? Other people are facing not having money, not knowing how to do because they don't have the ability to do it. What do you say to those men who are facing those kind of mind blocks, that the shame, the not having money, the not having access, not having a degree or being able to go to school? What would you say to those men?
Yeah. At first thing I want to say to them is, "Up, you mighty kings!
Mm.
You're powerful than you will ever know. You're powerful than you will ever know." And you know what? Look up. Put your head up, kings. Put your head up because there's nothing that you can do in this world. There's nothing that you can do in this world that should make you an outcast or a throwaway to us.
That's right.
Right? Second thing, there's nothing that you can do in this world that has been worse than what has been done to us.
Mm.
All right? Don't forget that, brothers. And don't forget that, yeah, you got some accountability when it comes to, making this change. I'm going to hold you accountable, brothers. I'm going to hold you accountable. But it was a system. It was a system set in play and designed for you to fail, all the way from the school to prison pipeline, bro. From the first time a truant officer or a probation officer came in your class and called your name and walked you down there to the principal's office or to the dean's office, you was ashamed and you felt some type of way about going down this path. That's what made you go 100 down that path. Like, I'm about to rebel all the way. Don't nobody care at home. Then you get locked up. You go through something like what I went through. Bro, listen to me when I tell you that it hasn't been easy. The two hardest things I ever had to do in my life. Not ask myself for forgiveness, not ask the creator for forgiveness, but ask my wife's father for forgiveness and ask my son for that same forgiveness. Look at that. That's 3 generations right there. I had to apologize and I had to show remorse. I had to show this shame and breakdown to 2 men. The man who was responsible for giving birth to her and being a part of that, and then the son that she gave birth to. That's because change is circular, bro. It's not linear.
That's right.
So my advice is to keep living.
That's right.
And say to yourself, if Mr. D, if D Cook can come home, man, after making the mistake of reacting and shooting at his ex-wife because he was jealous, and he came home and survived and made it through, apologizing to her father, and he has some words for me. Mm-hmm. That's his daughter. Mm-hmm. And I took them because absolutely, I'd have been the same way. I probably did more than him. He let me out. That was a blessing. You know what I'm saying? He said, that's his daughter. Mm-hmm. My son told me that he was still willing to love me. Right? So I'm saying to you, the thing that you think you did, you putting weight on it, Kings, because of the male expectation. You putting weight on it. But I'm telling you, You won't recover the way you need to get through until you release that pressure out of your chest. It's like an inner tube.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all had swim bites when we was little. What used to happen, man? We used to get that bubble up in your tire right there. You hit a bump too hard, the whole thing gonna blow, right? Now, sometimes you gotta hit that little inner tube and go and let the air out, bro, before you blow, okay? Last thing, keep you a support system of people around you that have did this, like me. We have group meetings every month. You can take my email. If you're looking at this show right now, I am Daryl Cook at gmail.com. Reach out to me and I'll send you the information. Every month, me and my brother Yaakov, we meet so we can talk about these type of issues right here. And I promise you, when you get all these strong brothers and sisters around you, you'll know. Because remember we said, how do you change? It's through repetition. You'll know that it's possible for you to come through those decimal crypts and still come out here and be successful. Why? Because your big homies out here showed you that it was possible.
Mm-hmm.
Now go walk, little kings. A king is a person who walks footsteps, leaving them clearly cut for somebody else to follow behind me. You don't have no excuse, young man, because you got somebody. I did 10 years. I got a class X on my back. People still look at me, bro, like I don't belong in the room. Even though I got my bachelor's, even though I got my master's, even though I'm about to go get my LCSW, I have my own radio show. I interviewed Minister Farrakhan. I was just on with the Lieutenant Governor Julia Stratton. I'm on Girls Like Me right now. And people still look at me cross-eyed. But you know what I remember, fam? You know what I remember? Keep this in my heart at all times. That how they feel is their problem. I've already apologized to the men I need to apologize to. I've already got down on my knees and asked my creator for forgiveness before they opened my 5x8 cell. And the creator didn't bring you this far so he can drop you off here. Know that without a shadow of a doubt.
Know that. I love it. All right, we unfortunately is so much more I want to talk about. But one thing I want to talk about right now is baby girl.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah, right. For sure. Right. Right.
So, girl dad, you got two, but
Yo.
this is the one you have to get to raise up, and this is
Yeah.
the one you put that to build that. And I love seeing y'all videos together. So, what is it that you are grateful that you can provide your daughter, and what would she have been missing if you were still incarcerated that you so grateful you can provide her right now?
Oh, girl. Off the top, right? Unconditional love. Unconditional love and the first love of her life.
Mm.
The first love of her life. My daughter, because I'm her father, because I've made mistakes in my life and I knew how important this was, I want her to fall in love with me. I want my daughter to fall in love with me. She give me a hug and she tell me like, Daddy, like I love you. So what would she have been missing? Unconditional love that ain't gonna change. And so throughout the rest of her life, this is what I know my daughter can do. And I'm so blessed for it that I think about my daughter Essence, what I wasn't able to give her. And while we have a certain bond and strong relationship now, I'm so proud of her because she did it in spite of me. And ooh, I love that girl, right? But I want Essence and my baby girl to know that you can compare and level up any man next to your daddy. That's what I want you to do. Any man you run into in your life, you level him up to your daddy. Because your daddy is the only man that you gonna run into, baby girl, that ain't gonna ask you to take your pants down to show you he loves you. You hear me?
Mm.
I need her to know that. Because when she get into a relationship, after she has sex the first time, it's very possible that she gonna have sex in every relationship that she jump in after that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important for me as a father to show her that love is possible without that.
That's right.
Yeah. And if he don't come through on this end like my daddy did,
That's
you
right.
know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's a different type of love.
You
But
sure?
you better feel it. You better feel it like, okay, he'll move like my old man. Now you worthy of this.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's right.
That's what my daughter, she perhaps wouldn't have had. It would have been susceptible to be friend, more taken advantage of, perhaps by a brother who is also the victim of his father being incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm able to give that to her, and hopefully she'll spread that seeds to the rest of society, all right? But that part right there, being able to know this is how a man loves you,
Mm-hmm.
and you strong without the certification and verification of a man. I
That's
want Sharina to know when she wake up in the morning, yeah, you pop your tiara on however she want to. You rock that however you want to. You don't need me to hand that to you. She keep on asking me, Daddy, hand it to me. Go get it yourself
mm-hmm.
and put it on your head.
Mm-hmm.
And you ask Sharina her affirmation when you see her. I'm gonna say it right now, and you ask her this. When you see Sharina, you just say, no, you say proclamation. That's what you say to her as soon as you say see her, right? And she gonna say, I am Sharina, strong, beautiful, intelligent black queen. I
That's,
am Betty Shabazz. I
I,
am the Sky King. She gonna tell you that.
I love it.
Say that to her when you see her.
I'm gonna ask her what I'm gonna say proclamation and see what
And
she
she
says.
gonna bust, and she gonna bust that right there. I guarantee you.
And that is what girls like me always does. We try to instill affirmations and knowing who you are. And I just want the people who are watching to understand. You said something earlier. We don't. With 7 o'clock, hours already passed.
Yeah.
Um, but you said something earlier, and you said that in school, the shame you would feel just from something so small that people would think is so insignificant, but cause you great dilemma and great hurt. Just asking to have your parents sign a permission slip, and you say, "Well, where, who, how?"
Right.
I can't. Visiting day ain't until next Thursday.
Right. Right.
How can I get this done? And so those little triggers, we have young people sitting in school classrooms right now, and we don't understand why all of a sudden they acting out. We don't understand why all of a sudden they bullying or picking a fight or just despondent and not reading or not doing whatever, because the constant reminders, right, of how many of our parents. And you talked about how your mother was the only one who was away, but now we look around the classroom and that's the majority of people don't have their parents. Young kids don't have their parents with them, and it's both parents that's locked up, right?
Mhm.
And so I just want us to hear those things. We may not be able to delve into it, but we gotta know as we talk about you talk about the work you're doing with Minds Over Nines and the work you do with restorative justice and peace circles. As we talk about disseminating this, dismantling this pipeline to prison through schools and defunding police and getting them out of the schools, we gotta know that we cannot continue to feed a system that is conditioning us for a system.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
you made another point about the dehumanization of going to see a loved one who is incarcerated,
Mhm.
and the dignity that steals from you to
Yeah.
be stripped,
Yeah.
the dignity to see, in your case, your grandmother, who's a full grown woman, probably old enough to be all of those guards' mother, grandmother, and probably having to be submissive, and seeing the strongest person you know having to bow
Yeah.
down to that authority.
Yeah.
And I want us to hear that, because our kids are dealing with that, and we believe that they're supposed to somehow miraculously come up with no scars, no battle scars.
Right.
It's unthinkable. And if we continue, I thank God that you are willing to be so vulnerable to share your story, D Cook, because your story is the story of so many, and they don't get a chance to speak out for about it because of all of the things that, as you said, in your own mind that keep you from feeling like you good enough, that you can speak about it. But who else can tell us but those who live it? Who
That's
else?
right.
I mean, you can study it all you want, but who can really speak to it? So I want you to give like your final thoughts, um, as we talk about just reclaiming the black man's position and role in our community right now with all that we're facing.
Mhm.
What is the black man's role? How can you reclaim it, even in spite of being justice involved?
All right, real quick, Kings. All right, listen, we talked about reclaiming our manhood, reclaiming our communities, and getting back on our square. I know a lot of us are wounded. I know a lot of us are hurt, but I need you to realize that nobody else is coming to save us, okay? Nobody's coming to save us from the problems that we're having right now, bro. So we're gonna have to stand up and take our communities back, bro. Okay. And so I need us to become involved, become a part of the things inside your community, brother, man. You know, like my people that I talked about before, New Urban Chicago, and it don't have to be them. I'm just saying, an organization, New Urban Chicago, UNIA, United Negro Improvement Association, NOI, Nation of Islam. Just become a part of something. My brother Jamal Cole, my block, my hood, my city. Principal Vondell Singleton, Champs Mentors. Be a part of something, bro. Be a part of something because we are responsible. It's our duty and our responsibility to protect women and children. We have over 60,000 Black women missing. King, it's our responsibility to reclaim our neighborhoods and get things back in order. Listen, we all got the scars. We all are what I call CHIP, children who have incarcerated parents. I'm talking to the government, those who are in power now. If you're in the line, any politicians that come on, we need something roped and implemented into the system to where we can have funds that go directly to children who have incarcerated parents. We have funds set aside for those who have other abilities. We have funds set aside for everything else. We need funds set aside so that those who have a parent incarcerated does not repeat that school to prison pipeline system. And lastly, we must continue to talk. I know a lot of us, a lot of our young people that may hear this and and some of the old people may be like, well, I'm done talking. I'm through with talking. But you got to understand, family, like communication. Nobody builds a building without communication first. Before they build the Willis Tower, which I call the Sears Tower, they have to do something first. They have to put a blueprint down. Once you put the blueprints down, you said, these are the escape routes. These are how many floors we're going to build. And this is how we will sustain in years to come. We have to design a blueprint in order for us to move forward. And if we do that, I promise you, we'll have a successful and bright future. I'm rooting for us. And I'm doing my part, family. The Minds Over Nines Gun Violence Prevention Program is to prevent, to intervene, and to respond to those who have already engaged in this type of activity. We can change our actions by changing our thinking. Yo, stay positive, family. You got this. You got this. The same person who gave you life gave you every tool in the workshop to solve every problem that's in front of you. Stay strong, family. One God, one aim, one destiny. And in the words of my brother from Chicago, man, getting it in, if everybody do a little, nobody got to do a lot. It's your boy, author and national speaker, D. Cook. I love you, family.
Man, I don't even know. Ain't nothing else left to say. I kind of wanna take questions, but I
Whatever. I'm here. I'm here.
that's not the vibe because that. What else can you say to that?
Oh,
Like,
I'm
what
here,
else can you
son.
say? So we are. I am gonna open it up for questions. I want to say again that this hour has been brought to you by Aclivis, and we're so proud of the work of Levon Stone, who has put this together, this violence prevention and intervention, and it is because of the Brotherhood of Minds Over Nines, and all the champs and all the things that you name. Um, it's enough work for everybody.
Yes, it is.
Unfortunately, just like I talk about Girls Like Me, we're not the only girls organization, and we're not trying to be. It's too much work for one organization to carry, and it's so much trauma that our young people are facing, our children are facing, because we need more organizations such as yours and activists that work with the parents. It makes our work easier when we coming up under. And if I work with a girl after school and I'm sending her home to a household that is not, that they not teaching proclamation, they not teaching her to get her crown, and I'm sending her home, and they calling out her name and doing all this other stuff, then it just makes it's a it doesn't help. And so
Right.
to know that your organization and you, activists, and Dovetail are all working with
Yeah.
fathers and parents, that is what it is. That's the business. So any questions or comments, we can take them right now.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
I did put your contact there, so it's darylcook@gmail.com. Is that correct?
Actually, I am Daryl Cook at Gmail.
Yeah. Oh, I've been scrolling this thing up here so long. Let me correct this. I am.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. We want to make sure that people are able to get to you, because you're not only do you do this work, but you're a keynote speaker, and you come out to teach and to address audiences, and to make sure that the message is out. So people can contact that information as well if you want to have Brother Daryl Cook to come out.
Come out to your school for a keynote presentation. We'll talk. You reach out to me at the email, and we'll find out particulars, 1 to 2 hours. Maybe you need me in for a workshop session. Maybe it's 1 day workshop, 2 day workshops. I do online courses as well for gun violence prevention. I work with a lot of organizations throughout the nation. In Philadelphia, here in Chicago with Chicago Cred, and I am able and the Youth Peace Center. Just teaching mass incarceration, school to prison line, what we talked about today, and conflict resolution skills and de-escalation skills.
Mm.
I want them to know that our youth need to know that it is possible for two men to be on the same block, have two different point of views, and both of them be right. You know what I'm saying? Like, right? Like, because a lot of times we in it and we said, no, you wrong. Like, nope, you wrong. And
Mhm.
so somebody gonna shoot, the other person gonna get locked up, and now we got an LL. I want to win-win. I want to walk away from this with you understanding my point of view, and I'm understanding your point of view. Now, how I do it is I tell the guys, face each other, look at each other directly. All right, don't turn around. Now, one guy, you tell me what's behind you. He'd be like, well, what's behind him? He'd be like, well, there's some houses, some cars, and some trees. He'd be like, all right, what's behind him? He'd be like, the same thing, man, and there's some buses and stuff back there, some children down the street playing. And I'd be like, all right, which one of y'all all right? And then they'll take that little pause for a second, like both of us, I guess. I'm like, oh, you kidding me? You know what I'm saying, right? So both of y'all got two point of views. You're on the same block, and both of y'all are right. Come on, man. Come on, man. Take this lesson and apply it to everything that's going on out here, brother. All right. Listen, just if Lake Michigan is the truth, if that water is the truth, and I take this cup and I go to Lake Michigan and I take all of the truth in this, it would be true that this cup is the truth, but it wouldn't be all the truth. Because somebody else should take their cup in there and go get some.
Mm-hmm.
Leave room open for somebody else to give you the truth. And if we understand that each person that we bump into, each person that we run into can teach us at least one thing that you didn't know, you would be a better person because of that.
Wow. That's deep.
Mm-hmm.
That's deep. Because I know I'm a Virgo.
Okay. Hey, we start off like that.
I'm always right.
I know you too, so go ahead.
I'm always right, and
right.
but humility is a skill.
Yeah.
It is. It's something that you have to know, that being wrong or being seen or perceived as being wrong doesn't make you any less able to contribute.
Right.
And also having to be right or having to be the authority on something, oftentimes you lose that perspective. You lose a different perspective if what you got to say is the authority, and what you gonna have to say it. I love that. Take a little bit of truth, but leave opportunity and possibility that somebody else got some truth too. We got 2 questions.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
This is one. Tucson is saying he's making a statement, and then I guess he's asking whether or not you agree. Chicago has been violent for 2 reasons. 1 is poverty, and 2, large concentration of Black people in government hoarding resources. Agree or disagree?
In part, agree. So I'll kind of like I agree with the brother. He's on point when we talk about poverty being the reason for the violence that's taking place in our community. I believe if we sit down with like any criminologist, any psychologist, or a social worker, they'll tell you that one of the most powerful tools or one of the most recognizable signs that you can see violent behavior or criminal activity happening in the community is because of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that would be true. And also the government hoarding resources. Yep, bro. Because look at the things that we need inside a community. In order to thrive as a group of people, we need a few things, right? If we're going to sustain each other, we
Mm-hmm.
need one, a strong educational setting, like bias to where we know exactly what our children are going to get for that day in school.
Yep.
Two, we need financial institutions inside our communities,
Yep.
like black-owned banks. Like we need like 1,000 more Seaways, or
Mm-hmm.
United Credit Union. So we have those three. We need our own medical staff. Where do we take our men? Where are the trauma? We already limited in trauma units. Where do we go for trauma and mental health?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying, right? So the hospitals, and for mental health, we need funds allotted, to that. And five, access not just to jobs, but the funds to be able to start your own businesses in your community, so we don't have to depend on anybody else to take care of us. So when he talks about hoarding resources, he's on point. The only pushback that I'll give is the large concentration of black people. I just, but I want to talk on it. I don't want to just dismiss it, right? I want us to talk about that because that's what we were talking about earlier. Like, the images that were given to us, those lack of resources, images that's given us, like when I was young watching Tom and Jerry, like that. I'm pulling that out because that popped into my head right now. It was this episode to where whoever the owners of the house was, the white lady and the white man and the white lady, you can see they whole slender body. They nice, they healthy. You know what I'm saying? They car outside, they cool. All right. Then you turn to the fact that they had a maid. You turn to her, she big, her neck, you can't even see her face.
Nope.
They wouldn't
Just
even
the
do
red.
they wouldn't
Yep.
even do the justice of showing her face, right? Then she had a southern drawl, like Thomas. So
Mm-hmm.
it'll be like the lack of resources and the images that we received over time that make us believe that it's the concentration of blacks together. But I just want us to reflect back on the villages and see this was that's what they robbed from us. They robbed our history. And that's why when I talk about nationalities, it's so important. You know what I'm saying? Because you talk about like black, African, African American, Negro. We switch nationalities so many times over here. Why is that happening? Why is that? Because your nationality is what was stolen from you. You know, to be African, Africa, that's a continent. I'm not a continent. People are nations, they're countries. Even when you watch a dog show and you watch a poodle go around and they rub the neck, and they don't just say this is a poodle, they
Mm-mm.
say it's a French poodle. They don't just say that's a bulldog, it's a British bulldog. It's not just a shepherd, it's a German shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
So who are we? Like, who are we? And when we get to the point of that, when we get to that and breaking that down, I think we get to the source of like getting us back on track and doing what we're supposed to do out here. So it's a big fight, but we can make it happen.
And I have to say, I've been a part of the Chicago Peace Fellows. I was blessed to be chosen as one of those. And one of the biggest lessons of coursework that we really pushed and got into was this thing of appreciative inquiry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can look at something and see, we can name all the names, we can name everything that's not working or that we have an issue with, but it's when we come from a place of appreciative inquiry that we really get to solutions.
Right.
Because and you talk about Africa. I'm about to get way off topic, but I just came back from Ghana in January, and
Mm-hmm.
it was mind blowing for me. It was my first time. I think it happens to most of us when we go back to Africa for the first time. We all can be kind of disenchanted because we just think we're going home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so much happened. I can't get into it, but what I will say is that um, it made me appreciate Black Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Those of us whose only experience has been here in America, because we've held on to, for other Africans to come to America, we've held on to all the things that they forgot being colonized, right? We've
Mm-hmm.
held on to a lot of religious and spirituality. You see a lot of people practicing Yoruba, and a lot of people practicing voodoo, hoodoo, Buddhism, a lot of different things that some countries in Africa are praising the same white Jesus as a lot of people who were enslaved. The same thing about our food and everything. That the foods and the spices that we use here in America is because we held on to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that the best of us, is who survived.
Oh
The
yeah,
best of
no.
us. And not to discredit or discern those who refused and gave up, and would rather see death than to come here. But for those of us who did, the strengths of who we are, um, I just don't want us to get into the whole. We My point was that I left Ghana wanting to place blame somewhere.
Gotcha.
Y'all sold us.
Never came to get us. Where
Y'all
the
never
canoes
came to
at?
get us.
Roll right down
You
on them.
know,
Come get us.
and then shun us when you get over here. You don't want to be a part of us. You don't want to claim. So I had a lot of that to deal with, and it was hard to process it because I'm coming from that straight into COVID, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
don't even have a place to process that.
Right.
But what I do know is the appreciative inquiry stops the blame, because we can
Yeah.
find blame for every last one of us, right?
Right.
we
Right.
and I know you know this, being incarcerated. If you've had family members who are incarcerated, you can place blame like so and so ain't write me, they ain't come see me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can do
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of that.
Been through that.
or,
Yeah.
or vice versa. You did
Mm-hmm.
something, you went away. So I think we can learn. We can get to a solution. Everything you spoke of was appreciative inquiry,
Mm-hmm.
asking the question of asking the question from the point of appreciating what is working, and then questioning how to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Walida made a great point. And we know this when you're dealing with trauma. She talks about ACEs screening, um, adverse childhood experiences, as a standard practice to help develop plans to support healing. Because, brother, as you talked about that. You talked about ACEs, the sitting on the couch watching the news and seeing your mom. Like that
Mm-hmm.
was your first adverse childhood experience.
Mm-hmm.
The even though you weren't a small child, but your uncle telling you can't cry over your grandma passing, that's trauma.
Yeah.
If we all acknowledge that and use those screening tools to help us, I think her point is that we wouldn't need so much punishment and punitive, we wouldn't be hindered from healing our pain either.
Well, yeah, I agree with Sister Walida. Absolutely right. In fact, I'm trying and I'm thinking of that now as we were talking about the defunding of the police. And as I told you, I was on that conversation with the Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. We talked about like some of these issues and what type of policies could we
Mm-hmm.
create to help our young men out so they could see some type of bright future, right? And one of my suggestions was absolutely that, right? Let's take some of the money that we're using in this police department. I'm not saying we don't need police, right? But we know we got to work on some things. It's who's policing us and how this policing is taking place. We talked about that school to prison pipeline. The last thing a child should see walking in the school first and foremost is a metal detector with a police officer right there. I cannot wrap my head around my mathematical test today, bro. And this is what's going on around here, right?
Because
So
because as you said, I just came this weekend from seeing my mother locked up. I just had to go through this whole thing. So now
yeah,
you're traumatizing me. You taking me back to my mother.
exactly.
I had to put that to the side so I could come to school.
Exactly.
Now I came
So,
to school and I'm
and I'm confronted with this. Yeah, oh yeah, you definitely pushing me through a pipeline. You definitely pushing me through a pipeline. So, where how do we assist us? How do we help us? And that's one of the most important things that I take away from the work that I'm doing. Right? It's the Minds Over Nines workshop. It gives me the ability to go in and be able to do assessments. Use the ACE, use the JACE case to be able to break down that portion, the early childhood, engagement, so I can see like what traumatic effect, traumatizing issues have you been through in your life? Have you lived through a natural disaster? Have you lived through a pandemic? Have you lived through physical abuse? How you lived through verbal abuse? What happened? Did you have an accident? Were you hit by a car when you were young? Have you ever been on medicine? This is what we know as social workers, that we're quick, one to sanction. We're quick to sanction, lock away,
mm-hmm,
and we're slow for treatment.
mm-hmm.
And so if we can take some of those funds and bring them to the assessment pool where we can use that ACE, then yes, we can help and have that administered by people from our community.
Culturally responsible.
That way we won't have an overdiagnosis of schizophrenia and other things of that nature, because we understand the cultural aspect that's combined with it. So I think that, sister, absolutely. We need to assess it. And all those that know, come on, we didn't pay all these money for these degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's go. That the work start now.
That's right.
All right, let's go.
So you talked about diverting funds and funding, and so we have a very important question about funds, and that question is, how do you donate to Minds Over Nines and CHIP?
Oh, that's really what's good. Thank you all for that. So, Minds Over Nines, I'm actually in the process right now, as I told you earlier. And this is one thing I want to say too to all my people that's listening. This pandemic has taught us something, right? That if you ain't got no business together or nothing like that, you can go under it for crisis hits. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the process right now of making it a non-for-profit organization so I can have my paperwork underneath everything that I'm saying as well. So that's the first step. So unfortunately, I a direct link right now. But if you email me at iamdarylcook@gmail.com, I'll be able to connect you to a way that we can connect and show you how that money will be used to assist men who are in high risk of not only using the gun, but being shot by it as well, and also helping children who have incarcerated parents. I work with Geraldine Smith, which hey, powerful, wonderful, and then we'll work through the CHIP program through that. So I am DarylCook@gmail.com, and anyone who sends anything, I mean, listen, it does. What did I say earlier? If everybody do a little, nobody has to do a lot, right? It could be $10, $20. It don't have to be $1,000. That $20 is gonna help somebody with their CTF here all week, getting back and forth to their
That's what I was
program.
about to
It
say.
helps.
That's right.
It helps. So thank you for that question. But I will have a direct link. Maybe I'll get one together, whether we go Cash App. And will I be able to put that link back up on this site, Lakeisha?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks for
Well,
that question.
that was your boy B-Side asked that question.
Oh, B-Side. What up, DJ B-Side? Violator All-Star DJs in the building.
So you do also have merch that people can.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So the same thing with that. I'm still in the process of getting everything together. My sister, she's on point. She invited me to come on, and I'm so overwhelmed. But the Minds Over Nines, again, just get with me. I'm on all social media outlets, Instagram, social media. Let me know what you're looking for. I got women t-shirts as well. That's a different cut. The ladies, they like the small one that fit the body. We got those as well, and we got different color Minds Over Nines. I can get the order out to you, and if you reach out to me and you have me come to your school, and or we do an online course with the youth, I'll give free T-shirts to all the youth at the end of the program as well.
Well, I think people definitely need you right now. This where we are, the unrest rising is telling us that we need to hear more voices like you. We need you speaking to policymakers, and we need the reassurance for young people to let them know that where you are is not where you have to wind up,
Come on,
and to let them know that also behind you is a whole mob of ancestors who already put in the work for you to be great. And if they know that the hope is there, then they do things differently. I want to invite you and all men, black men, who are giving back and being responsible to the community and feel a responsibility to the community, to partner with Girls Like Me Project, partner with girls organizations, because girls, a lot of girls don't have fathers. They have fathers. They're with their stepfathers or uncles or grandfathers, or no men period in their life. And so you stepping up in a way that doesn't exploit or harm, but builds them up and protects them. We need that so desperately. And so I thank you. Again, thank Activist for sponsoring this hour, brother. Daryl Cook, I am Daryl Cook at gmail.com. We want to just say, we directing people to you. Go now, like his page, like him on all platforms. Uh, Thank you, D Cook.
That's what's up, sister.
All right.
Thank you, sister. And shout out to everybody who's putting in work with girls like me. And can I also say this too? Because you made me think about my other girl, Gloria Dotson Lewis with Distinctively Me.
Yeah.
Y'all two should collab. I tagged y'all. Y'all are two powerful organizations.
Hey, I'm with it. Like I said, it's not enough of us. This work, unfortunately, means we all need to be at the table.
That's right.
It's I mean, I can't do sex trafficking. I can't do drugs. I can't do teen pregnancy. It's too much work to be done for any of us to be trying to do any and everything all by ourselves. I don't want it. I don't want the heavy load. I'm all about collaborating and helping and making it better, man, because it just don't have to be this way. It don't have to be this way, and we don't have to get I think we feel better. We're not as frustrated or discouraged or depressed when we know somebody is on the side next to us. Everybody, all hands on deck. It just make the load a little bit lighter. Yep. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be in touch.
Much love, sister.
Salute.
Peace, family.
So you all, this is just the first episode. We're so grateful again for D Cook coming on with us, Minds Over Nines. This was unfortunately a conversation that deserves so much more time, a conversation that deserves so much more attention and resources. D Cook is just one of over 50% of those who are incarcerated are black men, just like D. Cook. Yet they only represent 6% of the U.S. population. That means our girls are living lives without fathers being present. There are barriers when they come home to their fathers being present. And if we can continue to push not just the anti-violence and the violence prevention, but also pushing the policies that lead to that, and also the policies that prevent them from restoring their lives and reclaiming their position within our community. We'll have more conversations on this. If you have not, please go and make sure that you have filled out your census for 2020. It takes 10 minutes. 10 minutes, 10 reasons for us to get the resources that we need, that we can divert some funds to mental health, that we can put funds into jobs, we can put funds into education and libraries and streets and other things that we need in our communities. So please fill out your census. Make sure all of your family fills out their census. We got to be counted, you all. Thanks to Activists for doing this. We'll be right here tomorrow at 6 o'clock p.m. with another powerful voice, and we hope with you in the audience as well. Good night, everybody.